Words, okay.
Welcome to St. Augustine this evening. It is July the 3rd, the eve of the day we told the British to shove it. We're going to have so much fun today. It's our last show of the week. We're off on the 4th. We're off on Friday the 5th. No idea what the morning show is going to do. If those guys are going to drag themselves in for a show after partying all night, like it's 1776.
Maybe
is
if
that
we
what your
watched
shirt
the
says
show
over there?
Huh? Yeah, party like it's 1776.
Yes, party like
I don't know
it's
if you
like
can see it. My computer's here.
And we have a very special guest. We
Yes.
have the youngest member of the 904 Now staff. We've got Levi Moore back with us again. So Levi, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank
next
you.
time we'll send you the message that you got to wear like something patriotic on the 3rd.
I know. I don't know what I was doing. I threw on
Completely our fault.
I know. I should have known. I'm just a plain t-shirt kind of guy. You'll never see me in anything but a plain tee.
And you look good.
Thank you. I
As
appreciate it.
they used to say on Saturday Night Live, you look marvelous.
You
look marvelous. You look great. You look good. We welcome everybody. Before we get cranked up, let's make some money. Let's recognize our sponsors, and then we are going to have a really fun show for you and send you in to the 4th of July weekend.
Absolutely.
Solar Stick, they were established in 2006. They're a local portable power company, proudly committed to American manufacturing, constant innovation, and creating jobs right here in St. Augustine, Florida. Solar Stick's focus on providing solutions for self-sufficiency helps users all over the world complete missions and save lives. Solar Stick, changing lives, saving lives, and reviving American manufacturing right here in the nation's oldest city.
Absolutely. And the team at South State Bank is a group of bankers you can count on. Their approach to building long-term relationships with their customers is the best in the business. If you're looking for a banking relationship that you can depend on, check out South State Bank. They've got 3 locations to serve you in St. Augustine: State Road 312, State Road 16, or the beach. You can also visit their website, southstatebank.com. They are a member FDIC. Now we also have Aber Kresge and Associates. You give me the CPA on the eve of Independence Day? We told the Brits to shove it because of taxes. Oh my word. Aber Kresge and Associates, they are a local full-service CPA firm with a team of skilled professionals dedicated to providing top-level service in the areas of tax compliance and planning for businesses, individuals, estates, and trusts. Audits, reviews, and other accounting services. They also do business valuations, forensic analysis, and litigation support. You can reach them at 904-460-0747 or online at aberkresgecpa.com. They'll tell the IRS to shove it in a legal way.
Some of us are still salty about it. 248 years later, we're still upset. Land Title of America, whether you realize it or not, when you refinance the sale or purchase of a home, there is a title company involved. Don't get stuck with some out-of-town title company who doesn't give a crap when you're faced with challenges. Stay local and choose Land Title of America. Just call or text Stephen Collins, 904-501-4481. He specializes in all types of real estate transactions. Land Title, your local title company, insuring America's land one title at a time because
they give a crap.
Yes, they do. Absolutely. They're a wonderful company, great sponsor. Yeah, it's 248-year anniversary.
Yep.
I was shocked and appalled to find out something earlier today. In 1776, we founded the country. In 1976, it was the 200th anniversary. I was 10.
Mm-hmm.
Someone said the other day, in 2 years, it'll be 250 years.
Mm-hmm.
Which then made me go, oh,
poop.
Yes. That makes me, I'm going to be 60. I'm like, how the heck did that happen? I mean, I told you guys before the show, 10 years old out of 200 years, you're like, okay, that's 5% of the time. That's really not that big a deal. I'm a much higher percentage of the history of the country now, and that is a little scarier for me.
Well, I mean, it's better than the alternative.
It is much better than the alternative. I have made it this far, so it is good. It's been interesting watching the country the last 10 years. I'm a little worried for its mental health, but I'm hanging in there just fine.
You don't look a day over 40, so.
I don't know about that. I used to be able to play basketball. Not good, but I used to be able to play basketball.
You know, if you weren't drinking that cyanide, you might still be able to play
We're going to talk
basketball.
about that. We are 100% going to talk about that. But before we do that, and before we get into debate news and stuff like that, because it's the 4th of July, why is the 4th of July important to you? So for me, as a history guy and somebody who believes in personal freedom and personal responsibility, the founding of the United States was the end of a long run of human beings being governed by somebody who thought they were God. And now being told, this is your country. It was given to you by God. You have rights from God, and you're independent. You're free. You do not have to do what a king tells you to do. And we had people that had come through this line of thought. They were like, yes, there's reason involved in this. There's logic involved in why this should be a country. We do not need somebody telling us to do this. And they wanted freedom. They wanted a limited form of government and not something that was oppressive. We can argue where we're at now compared to, most of our founding fathers would be irate today. I know where they would have been in early January in a certain year. They would not have been happy with where we have come to today. And I still think we're one of the freer countries, but there's so many things that restrict our freedom right now.
Yeah.
But the United States, the founding of it was a milestone in human achievement and freedom. And for me, celebrating this is an absolutely wonderful thing.
Absolutely. I mean, how do I follow that up?
I know.
So for me,
Ditto.
Ditto. So for
I
me,
did that off the fly, by the way. It is
that
not
was impressive.
scripted.
That was impressive. So the 4th of July, what it means for me is obviously our independence. I learned about it in school a lot. I'm a big movie guy, so the speech that the president gives in the movie Independence Day,
Yes,
on the 4th of July,
Yeah, it's great.
that's one of the cornerstone speeches for me that I
Yeah.
always go back to for the 4th of July.
Oh, I cried when I saw that in theater.
Me
should
too.
we put Bill Pullman on Mount Rushmore just for that speech in the movie?
No.
But no, so in all seriousness, the 4th of July for me, it means freedom. It means America. Obviously, it represents our independence from Great Britain, right? That's who it was, Great Britain. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, to speak about where we are as a country now, like you said, our founding fathers would probably not be too happy about it, but we still can fix it. And with the 4th of July coming around this year and celebrating our independence and everything, I think this is a great election year. This is a great year for us to turn over that coin and head in the right direction. If we head down 4 more years of what the same path we've been heading down, it's going to get tougher and tougher.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm grateful to be an American. I'm proud to be an American, and all the glory to God.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, the 4th of July, it celebrates the moment that human history changed. So to me, there's 2 moments in history that really changed the trajectory of the entire planet. One was when Christ was born, and the other was when they signed on that dotted line in 1776 and pledged together their lives, their honor, and everything they had, and they lost it. I mean, the men that signed that document did not walk away wealthy, unlike the politicians in Washington, D.C. right now. They lost their fortunes. Many of them lost their lives. Many of them lost their families. They lost their homes. They really did hang together rather than hanging separately. It's the turning point in human history. It's when the planet figured out that humans could be trusted to govern themselves. Unfortunately, our system of government is designed, as the founder said, for godly people who are capable of self-control and self-governance. And we're in this shape right now because we are not godly people and we don't have self-control and we're not really capable of self-governance as we stand right now. So we really need to turn back to self-regulation so that we don't have to have people trying to regulate us all the time.
I agree. You guys nailed it as well. Great job. And I gave you like 2.5 minutes to come up with that before the show. So that's our typical show prep for those of you in the audience that want to know. I did also comically find one of the best t-shirts was the Queen of England. And it said Happy Treason Day.
Yeah. Didn't I send you that?
I think you probably did.
I sent that to
Amanda sent that to me. By the way, I want to give all the credit to Amanda for that joke.
I can find the text.
Yes, I just thought it was absolutely hilarious. I left the gym the other day and yelled that to everybody working out. They kind of looked at me and then they finally got it, right? It's like, you guys got to think a little bit.
I want the George Washington one that says, "Suck it, England." That's the one I want.
Well, that's why every time somebody brings up the Royals, I always say hashtag not my Royals. They're not mine. I don't care. I'm upset what they did to the country in 1814 or 1812 when they came back. They burned down the White House. Not really happy with that. So, yeah, I just think that it's absolutely wonderful. It is one of those really cool days that you get to celebrate, hang out with family. It's a little different than Thanksgiving because it's a one-day event. I mean, Thanksgiving's that 4-day holiday that you really get to kind of unwind. And it's also hot as Hades everywhere around the country. Doesn't matter where you watch the fireworks, it's still going to be hot.
Well, and kudos to the city of St. Augustine because, in my opinion, this is the most widely celebrated holiday in St. Augustine. If we take away the Nights of Lights being this month-long thing.
It's like a whole thing.
For a single day.
It's not a holiday.
No, it's not.
It's not a holiday.
It's torture for Mike.
For a single day, for our city to come together and the amount of people that come downtown and the show they put on, I mean, that and then the fireworks show we do on New Year's, I think are the two best city events we put on as a city in my lifetime being a native of St. Augustine. So,
yeah. Well, you know who agrees with you? Vanilla Ice is in town for 4th of July this year.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Well, he lives in Palm Coast now, doesn't he?
He was spotted, so he's in his Palm Coast
residence. Is it true he won't go on a balcony above one story?
I don't know anything
Levi
about that.
knows the story.
I just know that he's going to be on a boat.
There's this huge story that I guess one of the rap producers took him out and was like going to hang him over the balcony if he didn't agree to something.
Suge Knight.
I may or may not have been. I'm not commenting on anything. I'm saying there's a rumor out there.
Allegedly.
Yes. By the way, this show is filmed somewhere in Montana.
Right?
Yeah.
He takes 10 toes down to a different level.
Yeah. That's the story he said, I guess, in one of his MTV shows. My favorite thing about Vanilla Ice, there was an interview about his Ice Ice Baby dubbing the Queen song, right?
Yeah.
Queen and David Bowie, Under Pressure.
Oh, really?
So they dubbed that. They took the hook from whatever the Ice Ice Baby was from that, and they're asking him, well, isn't it the exact same song, the lyric from them? And he's like, no, there's this ding da ding da ding ding, and mine's ding da ding da ding ding.
Dumb.
You're like, you didn't. It was the same. There was like a slight hesitation at the end, and it was like, yeah, I don't think that's going to hold up in court. I really don't think you're going to win that one.
Yeah, there's a really funny clip where he's like, no, they're totally different, and then nah, they're not. They're
not different. No, they're really, really not different.
And Milli Vanilli did their own singing.
They were wonderful at the Grammys.
They were wonderful dancing.
So many people love their hair. All right, so there's still some fallout from the debate last Thursday. We got a chance to talk about it on Monday. Levi, you haven't had a chance to chime in on it. As the younger generation, and I know a lot of younger people who just could care less about politics. They want nothing to do with it. What was your take on that?
Well, surprisingly,
did you look up and go, I wish we had older people running?
No, not at all.
Right, just check.
But surprisingly, you saying that younger people don't really care about the debate, I found, and this is just from being on social media in my millennial group, that tons of people who have not watched previous debates watched this one in its entirety. Yeah. And I have to give the flowers to the free press of social media for that. They've made the younger generation more aware of what's going on because my generation doesn't typically watch Fox or CNN or any of the mainstream outlets. They're on social media. But with President Trump really doing a great job on social media as a comedian, I would say, it kind of had my generation watch more of it. Now, with that being said, I thought the debate was an absolute clown show. If you compare it to even when Obama debated, there was so much more class involved. There was absolutely no class involved in this one. It was, who can make the better joke about who. The most exciting part for me was when they got into it about golf. And then the moderators cut us off from that. They should have let them go for at least 30 more seconds on the golf. That was hilarious. But no, all jokes aside, the debate was horrible. I heard a lot of people saying on the CNN side, trying to say that Trump was just lying, which I don't think he was lying. I think he's just spitting off the cuff, which he does best. Biden at times didn't seem to know where he was at. I don't know if they were offering him up as a sacrificial lamb in this debate to change the nominee at the Democratic convention. I guess we'll see in time. But if you watch that debate in its entirety, and at the end, you think that we have a capable sitting president right now, then there's no hope. There's no hope for you either. So
11% thought Biden won.
That's wild.
That's wild to me.
11%.
Yeah.
First of all, I get holding on to something like that you shouldn't hold on to, right? These are the people that stayed in relationships well past the time that it was safe to.
Yeah.
They're the ones that stayed out and surfed when the lightning was popping all around them, right? I mean, the same thing with golf, whatever you want to. These are the people that just couldn't see all the signs in front of them.
Yeah.
I thought whoever negotiated the split screen won the election for Trump.
Yeah.
Had they just had the screen on one of them while they were speaking and not both of them while the other one was speaking. And I think they did that thinking they could catch Trump making all these faces and looking silly. And I think he learned
It's the complete opposite.
from doing that. It was whoever said, hey, this should be a rule. That's the person that may have turned this entire election.
And it almost worries me that he beat him so bad that the way they're going to attack him now is going to be entirely different than how they planned if there wasn't a debate. I just think that they're going to throw the kitchen sink at Trump now, if they weren't already.
Oh, they already have. He's indicted all over the place.
I mean, but as we see from the response from the public, I mean, after his trial verdict came out, I mean, he garnered more support than any campaign ever has.
That's the thing. He's the most investigated president we've ever had.
Ever.
And what they keep coming up with is bupkis.
Yeah.
So like they're trying to prove that he's, the devil incarnate, and they've accidentally proven that he's the cleanest, least corrupt person that's been in the White House, probably in my lifetime, if not ever, at least since the 1900s.
So it's interesting. You guys just jumped into a headline that I have. Alvin Bragg's team agrees to delay sentencing in the Trump trial following SCOTUS.
Gee, I wonder why.
Immunity. Well, I don't think it has anything to do with this. I think this is the excuse they're using. Right? I think that Democrats had this playbook in mind that if they could just get Trump convicted of something, didn't matter what, that he would lose followers. Right? That this would erode his base. They were convinced that this would do it. So they had the EJ Carroll case, right, where you had that case that went against him, and then you had the document, or the Stormy Daniels, right, how he paid her. Whenever that fundraising haul went in, that was a shock and a wake-up call to the Democrats running this lawfare against Trump, and they went, this might not be a good idea.
Right.
We might be getting the exact opposite result of what we were hoping for. So now I think they realize if they sentence him to anything, that it will be blasted out there, and it's possible that Trump could double what he's already collected, right? Since the trial. I think they used the Supreme Court just to go, hey, let's not do this right now, because if we do, we're just going to make sure that even more people vote for Trump. I think that's the reason they did. I don't think it has anything to do with SCOTUS at all. I think they went, holy crap, we cannot make them any madder. They're just giving him money by the truckloads.
Right.
I mean, he's making more money in a week than college and NFL coaches.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, it's just coming raking in.
Well, the tidal wave of support and fundraising that he's gotten since this lawfare fiasco, I think that's one of the reasons why they pushed for the debate to happen earlier. Because Biden has always been a strong debater. He's always been. So I was so looking forward to his debate against Paul
Ryan.
Yeah, Paul Ryan. And I was like, this is going to be great. This is a young guy. He's going to wipe the floor with Biden. And Biden trounced him. And at that point, Biden was still saying dumb things. I mean, he said dumb things my whole life. So I was like, this dude's totally going to trip and fall in this, and Paul Ryan's just going to nail him to the wall. It was the opposite. So I think they really were trying to stem the tide of this tidal wave of support that Trump's getting from the lawfare stuff. And it bit him in the butt. I mean, he did a terrible job. And now it's completely tanked whatever momentum they might have had.
Well, yeah, and here's another thing too, right? Is that we have to look at it from a career perspective. Biden is a lifelong politician, right? Mm-hmm. And Trump is an entrepreneur by trade.
Yeah.
And Trump has, when he's building these skyscrapers in New York, he's working with the unions there which are run historically by the mob.
Yeah.
So he's in the room with gentlemen.
You're going to say Democrats.
he's in the room.
Same thing.
Yeah, exactly. He's been in these high pressure negotiations where his entire portfolio, his entire net worth is on the line if he doesn't get these deals.
Yeah.
So he understands how to walk into a war room where he's got to debate with these world leaders that might be pushing towards a communism-based, society. Whereas I think Biden, he doesn't have any experience in that, as it's shown where there was no world wars while Trump was president. Only president ever where there was not some kind of war going on. No new war going on,
Yeah.
correct. And, the bottom line is, whether you believe me or not, I believe that a country should be run like a business. And Biden has no experience in that in his career whatsoever of showing that he's a capable CEO of a large Fortune 500 company. And Trump has shown time and time again that in the face of adversity, he can prevail. And I think it showed in the debate. I really do.
For sure.
Barack Obama, best quote ever on Joe Biden. Best quote ever. Do you guys not remember this one? Barack Obama said that never underestimate Joe Biden's ability to F something up.
So classy.
I didn't know he said that.
Yes, he did. Never underestimate Joe Biden's ability to mess something up.
They say that Obama picked Biden because no one would try and get Obama out of the White House and replace him with Biden. So Biden was sort of the threat. Like, if you try and get me out, if you try and, figure out some way to get me out of the White House. Yeah. If you actually succeed impeaching him, then you're stuck with Biden and no one's going to do that. No one's going to make that trade.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So I feel like that's what Biden did with Kamala Harris, because nobody would want Kamala Harris in the White House. And so that's why Kamala Harris is our vice president.
Well, that brings us some of this debate fallout, right? There's some discussion, and we talked a little bit about this on Monday, whether or not Biden would be replaced. Talked a little bit about how all the states have different rules on replacing somebody. So some states, once the primary is over, unless that person dies or is judged to be insane, right, or mentally incompetent, they're on the ballot. So the Democratic Party could remove him. He could quit, but by their statute, by law, state law, he's still on the ballot. So doesn't mean in blue states they maybe not reconvene and change the laws, the voting laws. It would be very interesting to see. But there's probably some middle ground states that'd be very difficult because you don't control both houses of the legislature.
Right.
The governor might not be of the same party. So there's all kinds of issues that would come up from that. And then the other is they ran numbers on popularity of some of the other Democrats. Biden does better than almost all of them against Trump.
Even Newsom?
Yes, even Gavin Newsom, which is kind of shocking. The best thing, and we talked about this Monday, Gavin Newsom is like a guy that California is a restaurant that nobody wants to eat at, nobody wants to go to anymore, and they don't like the food and the service. But Gavin Newsom, instead of fixing that in California, wants to franchise that across the other 49 states.
I would agree. That's a great analogy.
It's the best. A comedian said that, and I was like, that is the best one I've heard. It's absolutely true. None of the other 49 states want to be a part of this franchise, but he wants to push that all the way across.
Makes no sense.
Yeah, it does. He looks good. He speaks well. He's articulate. He kind of checks those boxes, but I don't believe you can, as a Democrat, you can replace Joe Biden, who's a white guy, and not have an African-American woman have the opportunity to be president. She's the vice president.
Right.
And skip over and replace another one and leave her in that position or replace her. I think it blows up the one demographic that has historically voted 95% with Democrats. Not this time. I mean, Trump is changing that.
But see, that's the issue right there, is that shouldn't even be a factor. It should be the best person for the job. It shouldn't be.
Then we need two new people.
I completely agree.
A long time ago.
My next question for y'all is, do you think that Trump is the best candidate for Republicans?
I think that Trump is the best fighter for Republicans. I think Donald Trump tapped into the I'm going to fight for you mentality more so than any Republican in my lifetime since Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
Every other Republican that I have voted for, I always was like, okay, when are they going to lie to me? When are they going to like get me all the way to the altar and then tell me, oh, no, I've decided to do something else. H.W. Bush epitomizes that, right? Mm-hmm. In the convention,
so does Paul Ryan.
Read my lips, no new taxes, and then we get new taxes. It's like, okay, we can't trust you. Paul Ryan's another one. I completely blame Paul Ryan for the first wasted year of Donald Trump's presidency.
Yeah,
because
he's
Paul Ryan was one of these Republicans saying, if you just give us the House, we'll repeal Obamacare. We've got a plan, and it's a better plan than Obamacare, and we're going to take care of this. We give them the House. The next election cycle, we couldn't do anything because we didn't have the Senate. Give us the Senate, and we'll repeal Obamacare, right? So they get the House, they get the Senate. Well, we don't have the presidency. Now, they don't think that Trump is going to beat Hillary, so they're like, okay, we're good. They don't have a plan. They didn't write something to replace Obamacare with. They had no idea that they'd ever win all three.
Right.
Trump wins. And then he's like, hey, what are we replacing this with? You guys have been here for years telling us. They're like, we don't have anything. It's literally like the kid who's told on day one of class, there's only one test. It's at the end of the year. When you get to the end of the year, you have to pass this test. And not studying for it, not writing a paper for it, nothing. That's exactly what the Republicans did while raising a ton of money off of we'll repeal Obamacare if you just give us power.
Yep.
To paraphrase Obama, never underestimate elected Republicans' ability to F everything up.
100%.
So who do you think is best suited for Trump's running mate?
I really have struggled a little bit with this. There's a few people that he's considering that I'm like, I don't really want you to pick them. There's a few people that aren't in consideration that I think that would be great. There's some of that kind of plays down here into Florida politics, right? DeSantis was kind of rumored a little bit. I don't think he'll pick DeSantis because he and DeSantis went head to head, and it's just not a Trump thing to do.
He won't pick DeSantis.
But I think Rubio could be one.
Okay.
Right? Rubio, satisfies the Hispanic vote.
Yep.
My only issue with Rubio is Rubio was an outsider when he took down Paul Christ.
Yep.
Right? And I was thrilled to death.
Charlie Crist.
Charlie Crist.
Yep.
Thank you. Charlie Crist. And when he beat Charlie Crist, I was like, this is awesome. This is amazing. And then he goes to D.C. and he gets in a room with Chuck Schumer and tries to come up with an immigration deal that's horrible. And you're like, what? That was the end of Rubio. I mean, his career just tanked. Is he good on foreign policy? Is he great on some of these things? I think he's pretty solid there. I just don't trust him to stand up and fight through the tough times. And that's the thing that Republican voters have been looking for 40 years, is someone that would stand up to the media, to Democrats, to criticism and say, no, this is what's best for the country. And I'm going to defend this, and I'm going to defend you and the values of America no matter what I take. Trump does that. Is he the best at delivering a message? No. Does he unify people? Obviously, he does not. Are his policies economically good for the country? Obviously, yes. Can he deal with foreign leaders in a way that most politicians can't? Yes. I mean, because they're afraid of him. The unpredictability of Donald Trump makes other leaders afraid of him.
Correct.
And there was a piece that I watched this morning where Trump was negotiating with the Taliban about a slow withdrawal out of Afghanistan by the U.S. We're going to get out of Afghanistan. We want it, but we're going to take our time getting out. You will not hurt, harm, or touch any American soldier while this is going on. And he looked at the Taliban leader and he said, or I'm taking you out. And then gave him a picture of his house. And everybody in your house is gone too. The Taliban did not mess with the U.S. troops the end of Trump's term over in Afghanistan.
Nope.
They even held back whenever the Afghanistan forces completely fell apart. And that's another, in my opinion, debacle of our military bureaucracy and the State Department. They had 20 some years to build a functioning government in Afghanistan. We say we're pulling out, and 4 days later, it's gone.
Yep.
That is a colossal failure that no one was fired for in either of those two departments, the State Department or the Department of Defense. Somebody was writing reports given to all of our politicians, W, Obama, and Trump, and Biden. The Afghan army's great. The Afghan army's great. The Afghan army's great. They folded like a cheap suit.
Yep.
There's nothing there. A ragtag bunch of insurgents beat them. after billions of dollars of training and equipment.
Hundreds of billions.
I mean, this is crazy. So when I look at that, that is to me one of the most epic failures of our bureaucracy.
I agree.
In the last 20 years, and not one person was fired.
Not to mention the amount of military equipment we left there.
Oh,
just
my word.
Hundreds of Black Hawk helicopters.
Yeah.
That just takes one pilot to fly out to like a safe zone.
Well, luckily they're completely inept and they crashed a whole bunch of them right away.
Yeah,
but still,
they did,
that's a lot of our money that was just smoldering in a desert because
I agreed with Trump during the sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, you're fine.
I agree with Trump during the debate when he said that it was one of the most disgraceful acts of American history to the way we pulled out of Afghanistan. It was horrible. And Biden didn't even address it really. He tried to defend it. And I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So there's nothing there to defend. I mean, I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah. So I mean, I look at this. I think our bureaucracy has let us down as much as our politicians. You have people that get embedded in places and they feel like that they have more power. They were not elected, but they have an opportunity to make a rule or govern without being elected. And that bureaucracy, as it gets bigger and bigger, becomes more oppressive.
Yeah.
You have people that just say, I have control over this. I get to now do this. One of the other things I wanted to talk about was the Supreme Court ruling last week. So on the 28th, the Supreme Court drops the ruling that changes. They overturn Chevron versus Natural Resources Defense Council. So this was a case where when it was originally decided by the Supreme Court, it said that the courts had to rely on the bureaucrats in the departments and the different agencies to make the rules, right? That they, even though it wasn't expressly said that they get to make the rules, they get to make the rules and people have to live with that. So there are all kinds of rules that these different agencies have made imposing and extending laws that say, well, this now applies to you. You can't do that. Examples of, somebody that had a stream on their property that was not a navigable waterway, but because it was a stream that was wide enough to be able to tie to something else, that tied to something else, tied to a navigable waterway, we now have authority over part of your property, right?
And they stopped someone from being able to fish in their own stream.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So the Supreme Court overturned all of that last Friday and said the lower courts can no longer simply rely on what the governing agency, who has some power because the law gives them that power, right, but isn't explicit in how those rules are supposed to be carried out, they no longer can do that. I would tell you there are people that are going to flood the courts. One of them will be the fisheries, the fishermen off the East Coast, right? You have all of these bans on fishing, different species of fish.
Right.
And all of this set up by biologists and researchers, maybe right, maybe wrong. But there's no due process for the fishermen to say, hey, why is it I can only go fishing for red snapper 3 times a year, right? But the commercial guys can go out all the time. But as a recreational fisherman, I can't. Yeah. And if you talk to recreational fishermen, they'll tell you they can't get grouper because they can't get the line through the grouper down the bottom. The red snapper are above it. They can't get the line to the grouper because the red snapper are tearing up the bait.
Yeah. And they're not allowed to fish them.
And they're not allowed to fish them. And if they catch them, they got to throw them back, right? So some of this stuff and these rules that these agencies have imposed upon us, I'm hoping that some of this will change. Hoping because of this case.
Aw, he has hope, guys.
I'm an optimist. It's July the 4th. I'm an optimist.
Listen, you have to be an optimist in today's world.
I'm not completely jaded like Troy and JV yet.
Davy's not jaded. Notice I only corrected you on Davy.
I know. All right. But the other kind of fallout, Hunter Biden is now sitting in on White House meetings. Hunter Biden is now sitting in on White House meetings.
Great.
Has no security clearance. We know his history, but he's now sitting in on meetings.
Over and under on how long it takes for another bag of white powder to be found somewhere.
I was just about to say that exact same thing.
Well, I want to know.
Because it's twice now, right?
I want to know where all the media, yes, I want to know where all the media pundits are that screamed about Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump volunteering, not getting paid to be in those meetings as well, right? With security clearance.
Is Hunter getting paid as an advisor?
That would be an interesting question to find out.
That no one in the media is asking?
Maybe he's the entertainment. Maybe he's painting in the corner.
No, he's not. No.
Maybe he's like a courtroom artist.
Yeah, he's just a courtroom. Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. He's painting the meeting.
Well, and the other person heavily involved in this, apparently Hunter and Jill, Dr. Jill, were the ones that told Joe, you have to stay in this race. And I've long said that Jill Biden is more
she's
of a
the president right now.
She's more of a force behind Joe
definitely.
than people want to give her credit for.
I mean, did you see her at the end of the debate when they had the camera? I don't even think they knew they were on camera. And she like walks up to the podium immediately, guides him off, goes over to the moderator, shakes their hands.
Yeah. Which is interesting because it's a debate. The moderators shouldn't be friendly with those that are in the debate. There should be an air of at least pretending to be unbiased. Trump walks off the stage. Biden is walked by his wife because he can't get there on his own. Walked by his wife to the two people that were supposed to be unbiased and shaking hands.
I did think during the debate they did a good job of being unbiased. Personally, I thought it was going to be way more jaded towards a.
It wasn't as bad as it has been in the past, but it was still biased. The way they framed follow-up questions was biased.
I agree with that. Here's the thing, right? If I took my grandpa and I've paraded him on stages around the country, and he was in the state that Joe Biden was in, I could get sent to jail for elder abuse. So
you could.
Yeah. So I mean, it's ridiculous what's going on, and it's really a shame as. It's 4th of July coming up, right? It's really a shame to our nation that this is what our most highest held position has become. It's become a clown show. It's more of entertainment television, which is right up Trump's alley, than it is a political debate to better our country for our leader. Well,
so I have some sympathy for Joe Biden because he should be allowed to just retire and relax. But he's reaping what he's sown. I mean, based on what we know about how he was as a father and as a husband, I mean, it seems like they're all just riding the gravy train until it's right into the dirt. And I mean, that's what you get when you are not a nice person to your kids and your spouse. And
I don't know the family. I just know what I've read, which I would tell you that's rarely the truth, right? It's just somebody's opinion.
Well, they confirmed Ashley Biden's diary. They confirmed it.
I get they confirmed, right? But I don't know all that stuff. You and I were not there. So, but in my looking at this, it really appears that Jill is like, hey, I've worked my ass off to get to here.
Yeah.
And you're going to hold it together for 4 more years.
That's what it seems like.
I'm not letting this go. You're going to hold it together. If Nancy Reagan had done to Ron, what she did to Joe the next day, you answered all the questions correctly and look at you.
Oh, my word, that's so kind of sad.
It would have melted down the media back then, which was leaning left, but not as biased as it has been the last 15, 20 years. But so I just say that's the way it appears. You would think as a spouse, if you saw your spouse of all those years in that much trouble cognitively, you would not want to put them in a situation where they could fail, and you'd want to get them off the stage, the public stage, so that they could enjoy retirement, go home, spend time with them, and let them have some rest. Obviously, I think his mental decline has been really, really rapid the last 6 or 8 months. I think that's why they wanted the debate early. They were hoping Trump would blow up and they could go, okay, we don't have to debate him anymore. He's an ass.
Yeah.
And he wasn't. And it didn't go well for Joe. And I don't think it will go any better. I think it probably goes worse in September. I don't think he recovers from this.
I would agree.
Yeah. I can't imagine that September, unless there's some magical cocktail they're figuring out right now with all those drug companies.
Yeah.
Like, I can't imagine it goes better.
That's what I'm saying. He looked completely different from his State of the Union speech to the debate. It looked like he was almost overdosed on drugs in the debate because, there's that happy medium where you're kind of sharp and you look good. And then there's where you go too far.
Yeah.
And he looked like they just pumped him up too much. He did a week's worth of prep instead of being the president the week before.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Trump's doing rallies all over. And
what kind of prep do you need to do?
I have no idea.
I ran for office. I did not win either time that I ran, but I didn't need to do prep. Once I looked and looked at an issue and figured, okay, this is how I feel about that. I didn't need to go research that issue. I could go anywhere you wanted to and talk about that issue. And I haven't been in politics. I wasn't in politics for 50 years.
Right.
If you've been in politics for 50 years, you ought to have all the answers.
Should have come second nature.
Yeah. It's like, oh, we got that again? Oh, yeah, I remember what that is. Oh, I had 17 different lines about that. Which one do you want me to throw out? Which one is polling the best for the audience that you want me to hit? And that's my answer. And for these guys to say, well, Joe Biden needs a week of prep. No, he didn't. He should have all these answers down after this much time.
His entire life has been prep for that moment.
Yeah.
And the thing was, during the debate, he mentioned, I used to get dinged for being one of the youngest people in Washington, and now I'm getting dinged for being the oldest. I'm like, that's not the flex you think it is, dude.
No, not at all.
Like, you have stayed way too long in the party.
Yep.
You're doing what Dianne Feinstein did, what Mitch McConnell did, and what Ruth Bader Ginsburg did. Like, you're staying too long at the party. Retire. Just retire. I
agree.
Yeah, I'm 100. He shouldn't have run 4 years ago, where the Democrats made their mistake, and there was an article written about this, which I put a little bit of credence into. There was not the typical midterm blowout. The midterms were a win for Dems because they didn't get blown out.
Yeah.
Right. Republicans picked up a couple seats. They got the House, but it wasn't a blowout. Typically, there's a 20, 30 seat swing in the House. That did not materialize. Whether it was because of
terrible candidates,
the abortion decision, whether it was turnout, whether it was still anger at Trump, whatever that was, it didn't materialize. So Democrats are like, okay, we could have gotten rid of Joe. If it had been a debacle, we could say, well, we'll blame it on Joe. We'll get rid of Joe. The policies are still good, right? The policies are good. We just didn't have somebody who could articulate them. We'll get a new guy. When that didn't happen, they're like, well, what do we do with Joe now?
Right.
And well, he'll step away. Well, obviously, the Bidens have spent a lifetime trying to get this much power in their hands. They now have it. They're not going to give it up.
But I also think that Joe's delusional enough at this point to think that he's actually doing a good job.
I would agree.
Like, I think he really thinks this is going well. And he's just so disconnected and so out to lunch at this point that he's like, no, of course I'm running again. Everyone runs again. I'm not stepping away. I'm amazing. Like, he's just that delusional.
Yes, I do believe that.
Yeah.
I do believe that there is, he's in a silo where everyone around him is constantly telling him he's doing it right and he's doing good.
Exactly.
He is probably one of the most disconnected people from Americans, normal average Americans. Donald Trump has a better connection with normal average Americans than Joe Biden does. Now, he's a billionaire, so it's a connection that he's seen as a common man. But trust me, he goes back to a lifestyle that 99% of us never will live.
Yeah. Well, I think the only way Joe Biden got in the White House is because that virus thing that we're not supposed to talk about made it possible for him to run in such a way for the presidency.
It was a unique situation.
Yeah, it made it possible for him to run in this completely bizarre way where he didn't have to go out to the ice cream parlor and to the diner. He didn't have to glad hand crowds of people because of that very unique set of circumstances. And so that's the only way he got in, is a lot of help from this weird virus thing and the media and handlers that like made all of that work in his favor.
Yeah. Although that was a very favorable situation for him.
For him, yeah.
Well, and the one thing you don't want as a voter is chaos. And Trump had a lot of chaos that last year. A lot. Some of it self-inflicted chaos in that last year. And some of it things that how he reacted to. I have said all along, if you had the health officials, I didn't care if it was Obama, Hillary, or Trump, or even Biden. If you were relying on those health officials who were supposed to be prepared for anything that was to come along, that was their job for 20 years, be prepared. And the first thing they tell you is, well, we don't have enough supplies.
Yeah.
That's not being prepared. Me walking into that meeting on day one of here's an emergency. Okay, well, what do we have prepared for that? You've been in charge of this for 20 years. Do we have warehouses stocked around the United States and pre-deployed so we can distribute these things right away? We don't have enough stuff.
Yeah.
You're fired, right? You had 20 years to get ready and you didn't, and now you get to be the voice of this? That was a horrible mistake. Horrible. And any president that took any advice from any of those advisors was going to fail.
But if you remember, he was doing these like daily or weekly press conferences that his poll number started to go up. during those press conferences because everyday Americans were tuning in numbers that they never used to tune in because we had this national emergency, and they were seeing that he wasn't a nightmare and that he was kind of witty. And so his poll numbers were starting to rise when more Americans that are normally tuned out actually got to see him. And so they stopped airing them. They stopped airing the press conferences on national news on the main networks because it was favorable for him.
Yep.
No, I listen, all of that is, but again, if Trump had been nicer in the first term to certain people, a little softer tone, I hate to say this, it's the Blevins policy, but if he'd done that, it would have been in much better shape.
That's not him though. That's not who he is, his personality.
I know.
And one thing I'll give the guy credit for is he is wholeheartedly himself all the time.
Yeah.
To his own detriment, right? He's his own best friend and he's his own worst enemy. So
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the policies, but he's his own worst enemy.
He is.
Right?
Absolutely.
100%. All right. Last thing, we got about 15 minutes. You talked about Levi's health information.
Yes.
You're not a health professional. You don't know that.
not.
But as somebody who just follows all this health trends.
Yes.
And I got a lecture before the show about my V8 energy drink, which has something in it I'm not supposed to be drinking.
Cyanide cobalamin.
And it's in here.
And it's in there, yes. It is in 99% of energy drinks. Okay,
Why is it in the energy drink?
I don't know why it's in the energy drinks. Why is all this stuff in processed foods? Like it just is what it is. That's the American way. That's all I can say at this point. If you go to Europe, there's like over 1,200 substances that are in everyday food in America that are banned in the European Union.
Okay.
Over 1,200. And that's why you hear them, they travel over to Italy, they eat all this pasta, they drink all this wine, and they lose weight because they're not consuming these forever chemicals that are in everyday American products. Now, is that because we've become so commercialized? Who knows? But for energy drinks specifically, if you have to have an energy drink, please, please, please do not drink Red Bull or any of these energy drinks. The best ones are Bang and Ghost, and I'm not sponsored by either of them. I'm just throwing that out there.
Why are they better than the other ones, in your opinion?
Because of the one chemical.
As a non-professional.
Because if you look at that ingredients list on the back of there, at the very bottom of every single energy drink, you will see something that says cyanide cobalamin. It has 10x the amount of what the FDA legally approves or deems healthy for an individual. It's cyanide. It's what's used to decompose dead bodies.
Okay.
And that chemical is in those energy drinks. What you want to see is methylcobalamin. So if you find there might be other energy drinks besides the two that I named that are methylated, and methylated cobalamin is fine, but the cyanide version of it is horrible for your body in the long run.
So now I got to go back to tea in the afternoon.
Tea is better. Tea is great. Coffee and tea, stick to that. Black coffee and tea and you'll be fine.
Okay. All right.
But the main thing was, I remember 2 weeks ago when I was on here, a young lady in the chat had asked for some of the morning health tips. And I went and looked at the peer-reviewed papers. And there was a scientist, her name is evading me. She's out of New Zealand. And from her peer-reviewed papers, which to have a peer-reviewed paper published, you have to go through a strenuous process. You have to have a PhD. You have to have a .edu email for them to even look at it. They have found that 57 minutes a week of hot exposure, so in the sauna, 57 minutes a week of temperatures above 182 degrees Fahrenheit, below 225 degrees Fahrenheit is...
So bake, not broil.
Correct.
Just checking, we got this temperature right. Okay.
So you can do it in 20-minute sessions, which is recommended 15 to 20-minute sessions, but 57 minutes overall a week, and 11 minutes of cold exposure, which is getting in cold water up to your neck at temperatures below 50 degrees. So you don't need to go any lower than just under 50 degrees. They didn't show any extra benefit from that, but under 50 degrees for just over 11 minutes and more than 57 minutes of heat exposure a week will give your body the natural health benefits that you're looking for from those extreme responses that happen.
Okay. So sauna, 57 minutes.
Yep.
Some type of heat exposure.
Yep.
Playing tennis for 30 minutes in the sun probably equals 57 minutes.
That would help.
Yeah. And then cold, 11 minutes below 50, which really, if you're starting out and you're doing 3 minutes, that's 4 days.
4 days, yeah.
In the cold water.
Yeah, they say that the papers say no more than 5 minutes, has to be more than 3 minutes.
Okay.
So,
At a time?
Correct, at a time.
Okay.
Because what you're looking for when you're doing this is you're looking for the cold shock proteins in your liver to activate, which is basically telling your body, hey, let's fight this hypothermia that we're about to go into.
Yeah.
And they found that this can reduce your risk of heart attack. The thing with the sauna is actually really crazy. What they found is that for women, it can reduce their risk of breast cancer by almost 50%.
That's wild.
Which is wild.
So you're saying the like 2 hours that I would do in 52-degree water when I was working at Marineland maybe wasn't a good plan?
Well, you were in a wetsuit, right? You know?
I was in a wetsuit.
So you're
2 hours.
Yeah. You worked at Marineland?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. With the dolphins?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Don't get her started. We only have 15 minutes left.
I love that. I'm going to have to pick your brain on that off camera.
We can talk later.
Yes.
It did not lead to a plethora of money, I will tell you that.
It did not.
Did not.
But might have lowered my chance of getting breast cancer.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think some of this extreme stuff is really pretty. I've done both. We have a sauna. We have an infrared sauna. And,
perfect. Infrared's great.
Love that. And the cold therapy, I didn't think I would enjoy as much, but I got to tell you, I really like the cold therapy.
Really refreshing.
Yeah, we'll go swim a couple times a week and then jump in. It's a little ice pod is the name of the brand. I'm not endorsing it because they haven't endorsed me yet, but it works really well. It's better than having a bucket and having to put ice in it to get the temperature up. The first couple times I struggled to get to 3 minutes. I'm a good 5 minutes now. And that it didn't take long to acclimate to that.
No, it doesn't take long. And the way I will tell you this, anyone that has cold plunge religiously will tell you this, the way you feel after you get out of a cold plunge is incredible. Your dopamine is 2 times the amount that you get from the Hunter Biden white powder, and it lasts 6 hours longer.
Allegedly.
It is the number one natural way to get dopamine into your body is to get in cold water for 3 to 5 minutes a day.
It's wild.
And it makes the rest, you could encounter any kind of stress throughout the day and you're like, hey, I cold plunged this morning. Like this stress is nothing compared to that. So I recommend that. If you're looking for natural ways to boost your energy and just your overall health, cold plunge and sauna is the best building ground, best building block to start on.
Right, best food.
Best food?
Best food.
The number one food tip I can give is the closer the food is to its source, the better. So whole foods. You know, I mean, I could get into why you should have less carbs, why you should, eat certain things. But the best thing I can say is the closer to the source, the better.
So you're not a fan of Beyond Meat?
No, not at all. And as you can see, we just struck that down in Florida.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Well, that's lab grown meat.
Lab grown meat. Yeah.
Beyond Meat is it's
vegan
soy,
stuff. Yeah,
it's soy
it's
stuff.
It's not
and
right.
that company is trash.
It's
but
trash.
we missed a story. In September 2022, their COO was arrested for biting a man's nose in a road rage event, and we didn't even talk about it.
Well,
so evidently, he's not against meat in some cases.
Well, one of the funniest things is why do vegans tell us vegetables taste so good if they're constantly trying to make things taste like meat?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not going to tell someone that, hey, vegan's not the right way to go or carnivore is not the right way to go. I mean, listen to your body, right? Do what's best for you.
And with all of this, if you have some sort of condition, talk to your doctor.
Talk to your doctor
before you do that. I mean,
talk to your doctor.
I had my daughter I have fought cholesterol for a long time. My daughter gave me some, hey, these are more natural ways to deal with that.
Yep.
Went to my doctor. I said, here's 3 things. He said, well, these 2 you're okay taking, but don't take this one because it's the same as what the cholesterol meds. It's going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
You don't need to double up on that, but these other 2 are good for you.
Yeah.
And one of them, I've noticed a marked difference. I can tell a difference in taking that. I feel better. I have a little bit more energy.
And there are apps that are free apps that you can download. One that I use is called Foodikit. Which is food and educate put together. So Foodikit, is how you would say it, I guess.
Yeah.
And if there's another one called Bobby Approved. They're both free. And you can scan the back of the barcode at the grocery store, and it'll tell you if this food is approved in a healthy way or not. It'll tell you why. It'll tell you if it has forever chemicals in it. It'll tell you if it's highly processed, if there's artificial sweeteners in it. And that has really helped me. It did shoot down my grocery list entirely. So I had to start, buying my meat at the butcher shop and going to the farmer's market on Saturdays in the morning and getting my eggs there. And just little things like that will change. You can pay for the more expensive food now, or you can pay for going to the doctor later in life.
The most important thing I can tell you is from years of trying to eat healthy is never rely on the front of the label.
No, never.
Turn it around and look at what's on the back of the label.
Yes.
Because the front of the label has all kinds of marketing gimmicks and words and phrases to make you think, hey, this is really healthy for me.
Yep.
There are times that there are products that the low-fat product or low cholesterol product versus the regular product is worse for your body.
Correct.
Because of what else is in there.
Correct.
And how they got to that point. So, I mean, that's one of the things to me that you really just have to, if you're trying to monitor your health, that's it. I agree with you. Get closer to the source of the
Closer to the source. That's the best advice I can give. Closer to the source. I mean, because I should cut out bread. I love bread. I absolutely love bread. So what I started doing was going to the farmer's market on Saturdays and buying the fresh sourdough from someone that makes it.
Yep.
And I lost tons of weight just by switching to that one thing. So...
Well, I talked to a doctor here in town, and he said sometime in the past, and I can't give you the exact date or time, so that the U.S. wheat industry changed to one type of wheat. It was more resilient, it was more hardy, right, and it was going to give a better yield. Once we changed to that, and it's a wheat that we have in the United States that is the predominant wheat, it's not the predominant wheat in Europe.
Yeah.
Weight gain across this country went through the roof.
Yeah. So did you know that with everything where you see high fructose corn syrup in it, did you know that became a thing because they had all this excess waste from corn?
Yeah.
It was one of our biggest cash crops was corn. And they were like,
because the government
what do we do with
subsidizes
this?
it.
Well, they found out that, hey, it can give food an exponentially longer shelf life. So that was a completely profit-driven thing to keep food on the shelf longer, was to put high fructose corn syrup into it without any knowledge. And I don't blame the farmers. I don't blame anyone else. They had no knowledge that it was going to do what it does to the human body. And it is if you can cut out anything from your diet, it would be high fructose corn syrup. That is the number one thing that you can cut out.
If I can't do sugary drinks anymore.
No, me neither.
The number of Coca-Colas that I drank a day in my 20s and 30s was staggering. I can't do those. There's just so much stuff in there. I'm like, no. I just can't drink that.
Yeah. I mean, you probably don't even know this about me. I mean, you've known me basically my whole life. But when I was younger, I would drink a 2 liter of Sprite a day. And I went to the doctor for a regular checkup before the school year. And they came back and they called my mom into the other room. And then my mom comes back and she tells me, hey, you can't have Sprite anymore. And I was like, why? And I was almost pre-diabetic as a 12-year-old. And I had to cut out Sprite completely, which was my favorite drink to drink. So now I'm on the prebiotic sodas, the Olippops, all those that taste just like Sprite, but they have the good cultures in them, no sugar. And, you know, there is an adjustment period, but I'm telling you, your body will thank you later.
We had one child, I will not name names for the protection of the child, but Mountain Dew. Big Mountain Dew kid. And you could tell a difference in his attitude and how jacked up he was after drinking the Mountain Dew. But if he ever drank a Code Red Mountain Dew, it was like here.
Yeah.
It was like off the shelf. And we're like, Darcy
Red
and I
dyes.
like, okay, that is it. That is out. There's no more of that in this house. That is gone. We shut that. Once we did a little bit of analysis of attitude and behavior after drinking, I was like, nope, we're done. That drink is gone. We'll fix that.
Even Pedialyte. If you turn over the label on Pedialyte,
It's so sugary.
there's red 40 in there. There's green 20, blue 12. Like, what are these chemicals? Like, these are artificial chemicals that were put into the drink to give it color to make it look more appealing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, we give our kids Pedialyte. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. They've contributed the high rise in ADHD in kids to cereal, to high sugary cereals, and these sugary drinks. It's what we're giving them. So
I never had HGH, and I ate every single high sugar cereal
I
you
did
could
too.
as a kid. Oh my god! But I
There are
don't
a
know
lot
what
of
the
links.
cereal. I don't know what the sugar content is today versus what it was back in my day.
That's true. That's true.
Right? I don't have that data. So when I'm saying that, I'm telling you, I ate that stuff all the time, and I was fine. Not that I could. The sugar. I will guarantee you, it's all different today, and it's probably much higher.
I bet it is. I bet it is.
I can't imagine it went down. I don't see that.
And look, here's a positive thing you can use TikTok for. Everyone out there that loves TikTok and YouTube shorts, go on there and type in healthy alternatives to your favorite snack, your favorite ice cream. There is healthy alternatives in there that you can make in your kitchen that don't take that long, that you will benefit from immensely. So I encourage you, if you're going to use TikTok, use it to educate yourself in a positive way.
Like the Chinese do.
Like the Chinese do. Correct, though. You are correct about that.
They don't have the garbage that we have on TikTok.
No, it's the Chinese
algorithm is
and it's
completely
funny
different.
that TikTok is a Chinese-based company that they are poisoning American minds with, in my opinion, on purpose. But
you have to. Historically, you have to. The Chinese had a society that had been a closed society for a long time. The British come in, all these European powers come in. And they get the Chinese people hooked on heroin, right? Okay. And so now what are the Chinese doing to the Europeans and the Americans, right? They're exporting stuff that's bad for us, all kinds of different stuff, including TikTok and some of the stuff. It's almost like, okay, we're going to now play this at your game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you started this. We're now gonna compete on your back.
I fully believe that TikTok is a psyop from the Chinese government that they are brainwashing Americans with. They're like, look what we can do to them. And they don't even realize it. They're consuming it willingly.
Not only look what they can do to them, look at the data we can collect.
Yeah, absolutely. The back end.
Yeah.
Yep.
The outside. All right. You're going to be with us next week.
Yes, I will be here.
We got you on Wednesday. We're off tomorrow. Enjoy the 4th of July. Also, we're off Friday. Monday, we have Sister Susan.
Ooh, nice.
From St. Joe coming in to talk
Sister
about.
Susan. She was my favorite. Yes.
She's one of the favorite teachers at St. Joe.
She was awesome.
She is coming in to tell us what she's doing now, what she's been doing her entire life as a sister of St. Joseph. So it's going to be a great show. Join us for that. Have a great weekend. We'll see you guys Monday.
Take care, y'all.
Bye.